Okay, so here we have a single blank sentence with a shift word. So see that word but. But indicates that we're contrasting one idea with another. So we have these increasingly powerful telescopes. They're so powerful, their power keeps going up. But there's a contrasting idea, and presumably that contrasting idea would be that even though the telescopes are increasingly powerful, they have some sort of limitation or something that makes their power not as significant or something like that. Okay, so astronomers are developing these more and more powerful telescopes. The ranges of the telescopes can detect farther and farther galaxies farther and farther away. However, the cosmos, which is the same thing as the universe, is constantly expanding. So efforts to see that this expanding edge with these telescopes, are incessantly what? Well, if we're talking about a limitation to the power, then presumably the increasing power of the telescopes is not able to keep up with that constant expansion. Increasingly powerful, but the universe expanding is more powerful, extends beyond the telescope's power. So what reflects that? Well, efforts to see to the edge of the universe are incessantly limited. Well, that seems tempting at first because we're saying the telescopes are powerful but limited. However, they're explicitly unlimited in terms of the effort they can make. The power gets more and more powerful. The problem is that the problem is not that they're limited, but that their constant expansion is not as fast as the constant expansion of the universe. So, efforts to see the edge of the universe are incessantly rigorous. Well, no doubt they are. The telescopes are working harder and harder, gaining more and more power. However, incessantly rigorous isn't a contrast to increasingly powerful. It means the same thing, and we want a contrast. We're saying they're more powerful, but unassailable. Again, unassailable means powerful and unable to be overcome. So, that is not a contrast. If something's incessantly unassailable, it's increasingly more powerful. Same thing, not contrast. Okay, frustrated. That actually works really well because we're saying these telescopes are more and more powerful, but there's a contrasting idea that even though they're more powerful, they're frustrated. They're not reaching their goal because the edge of the universe is expanding faster than the power of the telescopes. Okay, technological. Now, without a doubt, the powerful telescopes are technological. Any kind of telescope is a type of technology. But the telescopes aren't technological because of the expanding universe. And the idea that telescopes are technological doesn't contrast with that technology getting increasingly powerful. So what we really have is increasingly powerful telescopes, but frustrated and unable to constantly detect the expanding edge of the universe. So D is the correct answer here. So let's look at what the sentence is saying. It's talking about market mobility, meaning workers have the ability to move from one job market to another easily. And what does this scenario entail? Well, it says that workers are able to move from a job market with high unemployment, a faltering market, to a job market with low unemployment, a prosperous market. So if workers go from a high unemployment place to a low unemployment place, what would you expect to happen? You would probably expect these workers' unemployment rate to go down because more of them are working. But the word surprisingly indicates that we need to expect the unexpected. So we want to look for an effect on unemployment that is the opposite of unemployment going down for the workers. And there are two ways we could have an opposite. Either unemployment doesn't change at all, or unemployment goes up. So let's look at each answer. Negligible. That means unemployment doesn't change at all. So that's a promising answer. Appreciable. Well, if the effect on unemployment is appreciable, that means significant. But it could mean that unemployment goes significantly up or significantly down. So since we don't know whether it's going up or down, we're going to say that that can't solidly be the right answer. Deleterious. Now that's interesting because it sounds very negative, but it's weird to think of what it would mean for there to be a deleterious effect on unemployment. A deleterious effect harms or in some way damages something. If you're damaging unemployment, are you reducing its rate? Are you fighting back unemployment so people can work more? Or is a deleterious effect on the workers? We don't quite know. So again, this could mean unemployment goes up, unemployment goes down. The wording is a little odd anyway. Restrictive. Okay, so restrictive. If the effect on unemployment is restrictive, we have the same problem as deleterious. If we are restricting the amount of unemployment, the unemployment is going actually, sorry about that arrow, the unemployment is actually going down. But if this has a restrictive effect on the workers, somehow they're poor, they don't have options to work, then the amount of unemployment is going up. So again, we don't have a clear-cut unemployment is either going up or not changing, which is what we need. Ambiguous means unclear. And we certainly don't want an unclear answer. We want some clear, surprising effect that's the opposite of our expectation that unemployment will go down. So negligible is the only word that really works here. Hopefully this has helped. Okay, so there are two things in this prompt that I hope you'll notice right away. And first, it's that we have the verb has come to, that verb split by a big modifier. Now, let's look at that, albeit only with the benefit of some 80 years of study and commentary. Because that interrupts the main verb of the sentence, it's a little distracting. Whenever you see a modifier that interrupts a verb or is just this big blocker in the middle of the sentence, kind of try to skip it. Visit it if you're not finding enough context in the rest of the sentence, but start from the assumption that maybe you can skip this. Okay, so we want to ignore that modifier. We want to also notice that there's going to be a shift in ideas or meaning. Two different ideas or meaning contrasted in here. And we can see that with a shift pattern. Once blank, now blank, because has come to is present progressive. So you're saying once something was one way, comma, but now it's a contrasting way. Once it was one way, now it has come to be a different way. So we're looking at a shift, and we want this part in the first blank to be the opposite of whatever the philosopher's treatise has come to be. Well, the philosopher's treatise has come to define the orthodox viewpoint. It's come to be orthodox. That means in this day and age, this philosopher's piece of writing is the thing everybody believes. Okay, so we want something that's the opposite of what everybody believes. Scholarly, we can eliminate, because something can be scholarly, carefully researched, but go against today's common beliefs. Frivolous. Again, that's not really the opposite of orthodox. Something could be written in a playful, simple way. That's frivolous, but still reflect what everybody currently believes. Iconoclastic. That's probably the answer, because that means taking on and attacking the standard beliefs people have. So iconoclastic seems pretty good there. Rigorous. Something can be very well researched and go against what everybody believes, or very well researched and reflect what's already believed. Obtuse. Now that's an interesting one. Obtuse means slow to understand. Well, for one thing, obtuse usually refers to people, not pieces of writing, where a person is slow to understand something. But also, if you're a person who's very orthodox, you could be obtuse toward non-orthodox views, slow to understand them. Or if you're a person who's very orthodox, you could be quick to understand your own views. So obtuse isn't a clear opposite of orthodox either, and the answer is C. Okay, so it didn't require any foresight. In other words, anyone could see, anyone could anticipate that this artist's inaugural self-portrait would be a blank. So what kind of self-portrait is this going to be? Well, the painting will be a certain way given that the artist's long-standing illness caused the hands to tremble. So we have to think about how trembling hands would affect one's ability to do art. Would the self-portrait be impactful? Well, certainly the illness is impactful on the artist's ability to create art. But we're talking about whether the portrait would be impactful, not whether the illness would be impactful. There's no real hint that the portrait itself would be impactful. Therapeutic. This word seems tempting at a glance if we look at answer choice B, because obviously you would want something therapeutic for the illness. But there's a connection between therapeutic and the illness. There's not really a connection between the idea that the self-portrait would be therapeutic. And if anything, if the artist's hands are trembling, maybe the self-portrait could be making the hands feel worse or making the artist feel upset that they can't do something. So therapeutic is definitely out. Macabre. Macabre means grotesque, upsetting, perhaps even suggesting death. Now again, we could make a connection between illness and macabre, but even that connection is not very strong. This illness isn't necessarily grotesque or upsetting or killing the artist, it's just affecting their hands. So macabre does not seem like the right answer. Inexact. Now that's a good one, because the artist's illness are causing his hands to tremble. Well, if your hands are shaking involuntarily like that, then the art you create is going to be inexact. You're not going to be getting exactly what you want in terms of the lines you're trying to make. So inexact seems to tie in with trembling hands and imprecise work. That is indeed the correct answer. Picturesque. Picturesque and portrait have this very, very superficial connection, because picturesque means looking like a picture, a portrait is a picture of a person, but there's no reason to believe that this artist with trembling hands is going to make a picturesque portrait, because picturesque means it looks really nice, it's a good picture. If the hands are trembling, it might be harder for the artist to make a good picture. So E is also out, and our answer is D.